Welcome back to MTG Stories. This time we follow the adventures of Nadaar, Selfless Paladin, and his three companions as they come across another group of adventurers searching for treasure. With the way blocked, how will they proceed? We shall find out. Scouting ahead of the rest of the group, Nadaar, the Selfless Paladin, and the apprentice, along with one of Borrowin's gargoyles, look for the entrance of the first dungeon. All right, apprentice. Let's get a move on it. And be careful. We should be able to use the gargoyles for defense.
Do those things actually do anything?
They belong to Borrowin, and I trust him. Very well. Let's get going. I think I see something up ahead. Borrowin, you finally caught up. We're going to head down the Murkwater pathway. Now, stay alert. The apprentice said she saw the entrance up ahead.
Excellent. My gargoyles should be able to serve as a great line of defense. Let's proceed.
Borrowin orders one of his gargoyles to take the lead out front as they enter the first room of the dungeon.
Yes, the lost mine of Pandelver. I've scouted this place once. Just follow me and we should be fine.
Look out! It's a zoom! And a forsworn paladin.
Everybody step back. I'll handle this with the precipitous drop.
The dwarf takes out his hammer and smashes the ground, splitting the earth as if it was made of fragile stone, destroying the creature as it fell through the cracks. Then they swiftly move into the next room of the dungeon, the mining tunnels, where they found treasure. After that, a human elf bard appeared in front of the gargoyle, also creating treasure as she stood with her paintbrush in hand. Kalian, reclusive painter, a dangerous elf who used treasure to strengthen her allies. Next, a Skullport merchant appeared, a dwarven citizen who also came with treasure. Then, finally, a shambling ghast, powered up by the bard, stood beside the merchant. Alright, this could get dangerous. I'm going in. Nadaar, Selfless Paladin, leaps into battle, standing beside the gargoyle as they enter the next room of the dungeon, the dark pool. As Nadaar looked to his right, he saw the plundering barbarian. Just as he thought the barbarian would smash the gargoyle to pieces, he entered the room and pried open a chest, looking for treasure. Outnumbered, facing a dwarf barbarian, a zombie, the Skullport merchant, the painter, and another paladin, things weren't looking up. The creatures go on the attack. He sends the gargoyle out for defense to fend off the merchant. The gargoyle was shattered because the merchant was powered up by the ability of the paladin. Filled with rage, Borrowin jumped into the fray, wielding his massive axe as they headed into the last room of the dungeon. Borrowin, I know you're upset, but we have to keep moving.
I'm not upset. That was actually part of my plan.
All right, apprentice. Let's see what you've got.
Shouldn't dragons already know how to fly? Very well, then I shall give you flight.
The wizard began to charge up a considerable amount of magic in his hand, and then he cast an enchantment on the paladin. Nadaar begins to fly. He then swooped in for the attack as he entered the dungeon of the Mad Mage. But this was no time to relax. The enemy, still on the offense, came in for a full-fledged attack to retaliate against the dwarf and the dragon knight. They managed to dodge all of the attacks, but the other paladin just increased the power of the other creatures as they lunged forward.
Just in time, Rune Seeker.
Right, Hammer. Glad you caught up. I thought you got lost.
A wizard never gets lost, Dragon Knight. You should know this. Well, I guess it's the perfect time for retaliation. What do you two think?
Let's do it. With the support of the Rune Seeker, the dwarf and the paladin go in for a massive attack. They enter through the twisted caverns, and then before anyone could realize it, the gargoyle that was shattered into many pieces reformed and then took flight as if nothing happened. It was a much more formidable artifact for sure. I guess your little gargoyle friend did come with a surprise after, said Nadaar. After this, they ran through the next 2 rooms of the dungeon in blinding speed until they ended up at the Muro's grave, where they summoned a host of black skeletons to fend off the party that was chasing them. The group of adventurers lunged in for a final attack, and the Dragon Knight ordered the skeletons along with the gargoyle to defend the enemy. The enemy plays one last-ditch effort spell to try and come up with something. The paladin gives power to the painter and the dwarf barbarian as they clash with the 2 skeletons and meet their demise. Just as the apprentice entered the battlefield, the enemy staged a tactical retreat. Victory was at hand, but it seems the doors to the wizard's lair have closed. What went wrong? With a small victory at hand and barely surviving the first encounter, Nadaar and his companions felt uneasy because their mission has yet to be complete, and the road up ahead can only get tougher. Will they make it to the wizard's lair? We shall have to find out. Thanks for tuning in.